So Memory Ventures has now officially been in Fishers, Indiana for 2 years. And as I've gotten to know people in the community, one of the most common questions I've been asked is, how did you end up in Fishers and why Fishers? Started the company in 2007. Started in El Segundo, California. Was originally Scan Digital. Now it's called Memory Ventures because we've got a portfolio of brands under ownership. From 2011 to 2014, we grew super fast. We were the 8th fastest growing company in Los Angeles. We were on the Inc. 500 a couple times. We were on the Deloitte Fast 500 a couple of times. Got to 2014 and realized operating a labor-intensive business where you need lots of physical space in LA, while not impossible, it left us in a situation where a tremendous amount of our capital and revenue needed to be reinvested each month or each year in just simply sustaining the fixed costs of the business. Concurrent with that, on the personal side, I had gotten married and my wife and I were starting a family, and we're both native Midwesterners, so the stars sort of aligned, and on the business side we're pointing to LA not being the right place for us to be, and on the family side pointing to LA not being the right place for us to be. So I spent that summer kind of crisscrossing the Midwest, looking for where our new home would be. In general, it was very apparent to me straight away that the Indianapolis tech community was overall in the metro area, was a growing community, had the right mindset to continue to grow. And I remember when the next day we were scheduled to come out to Fishers. We sat at our hotel and Megan said, okay, what did you guys think about today? And here's what we're doing tomorrow. And I distinctly remember being like, I don't really know if I want to go out to Fishers. I envisioned the business going into more of an urban environment. And she said, well, I've gotten to know you guys pretty well. They're doing some interesting things around entrepreneurship in Fishers. Let's just keep it on the schedule, and if you guys don't like it, we can always cancel the rest of the day and come back and look at other things in downtown. So I said, okay, fair enough, let's do that.
Personally, I felt that they were going to be a great fit up here. I lived in Fishers at the time. I obviously didn't work here yet, but Hamilton County and Fishers was part of my territory, so I worked with the team quite a bit. And I just felt like their personalities would be really similar, their vision for what they wanted to be able to achieve as a company, it just aligned really well with what the city was trying to do.
So we came out to Fishers, did a driving tour of the city, stood on the steps of City Hall, which Fishers was just in the process of becoming a city from being a town. Downtown Fishers was just being developed. So the Depot building, which is a big apartment complex with ground level retail, was just being framed up. The building across the way called the Switch hadn't even broken ground. So we stood out there with the economic development team from Fishers, and they kind of talked about how they were building the downtown, and that all kind of piqued my interest. And then they said, we're gonna go over to Launch Fishers, which is our tech co-working space, to have lunch, and you can meet John Wexler, who's the founder. So we went there for lunch, and that's really where kind of the whole thing started to click for me.
As we talked about what it is he thought his company needed to be successful, it matched up very nicely with the vision that Mayor Fadness and I and his team had worked very hard to establish over the last kind of year and a half at that point.
I thought they were the perfect fit for what our city was aspiring to be, an entrepreneurial city, and Anderson had a history of being an entrepreneur, particularly in the tech sector and e-commerce, so I thought it was a perfect fit. And the idea that he might be coming from the West Coast to invest in the Midwest, I was really excited by the notion of that.
Our lunch meeting quickly moved to a bicycle ride on some of our bike share bicycles, and we rode through Fishers, showed Anderson the vision that we had for an expanded Launch Fishers.
We sort of kind of showed, we were able to almost do a bike tour of what was to come, and I'm sure Anderson would agree now, a lot of the things we talked about were to come are now here in Fishers.
It just gave me a sense that the city was very committed to this vision of building a city around entrepreneurship and driving economic growth through entrepreneurs. And so for me, as an entrepreneur, that was kind of music to my ears. And it was something that I felt was incredibly unique. Certainly wasn't something that I'd seen on the West Coast.
It's a unique marriage when you talk about taking the brave step that Anderson did to move his company here to Fishers. He was really taking a leap of faith and really betting that we would follow through on the things that we had promised and the vision that we had set forth.
It was a big leap of faith as we were standing around looking at things that hadn't been built out of the ground yet and hearing about all the things that they wanted to do. While it was a huge leap of faith to actually believe that those things could happen and happen as quickly as they seemed to want them to happen, it was also incredibly exciting from the standpoint that I felt as an entrepreneur this was a place where I could come and get involved, and the story of Fishers had not yet been written, and still, I think to this date, is still being written.
At the moment, and this is no exaggeration, I mean, at the moment we got the call from the IEDC and Megan saying, the Scan Digital is committing to Fishers. The story changed for us, and so as a staff, we were able to talk to other companies, even local companies, saying, yeah, this is a company, and here's what they do. On the cutting edge of technology, on the cutting edge of entrepreneurship, creating companies even within their own company. They want to be right here, and right here was in the center in the downtown Fishers.
The tangible data is clear. Living and working in the city of Fishers versus really, most anywhere, if you're to do apples to apples, quality of life, amenities, and cost of living and schools and tax, all these things, I think Fishers is a clear winner in those categories.
The number of entrepreneurs and innovators that we have in our community, the support that we have from our mayor, our city council, the staff, everyone at the city. You look at all that and how everyone gets aligned behind this common vision, it very quickly becomes clear that this is a place that's serious about leading with entrepreneurship and innovation.
And I think that there's an opportunity for businesses of all sizes in Fishers, back from Launch Fishers with one person in a backpack, up to the size of Navient and Stanley Security Solutions and corporate headquarters that are in Fishers. And everyone is valued the same, regardless of size, and I think that's really unique as well.
I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that you don't have to start businesses on the coast. You don't have to be in Silicon Valley to do really interesting things. I think over time, as places like Silicon Valley and San Francisco and LA become more and more expensive and the cost of living continues to go up, I think it's only inevitable that more and more people are going to look to the quote-unquote flyover states as a place where you can actually run a successful business.
We really saw this movement of growing tech companies here. And I think that it's a great story for the state to be able to tell, being able to recruit companies from outside of the state. But then for Fishers as well, it's great for us to be able to grow the central Indiana pie. A win for us is a win for Carmel, and a win for Carmel is a win for Noblesville and Greenwood, and everybody wins.
We lead with quality of life, quality of place, quality of people, and then you factor in that price performance on real estate and people, and the long-term growth implications of buying the very best that you can get at really solid price points. And that really factors into a significant return on investment for the entrepreneur and for the company that chooses to locate here in the state of Indiana.
The surprise has been what kind of entrepreneurial culture exists in a suburban environment. I myself question whether or not it could exist, and it really is here.
The kind of tagline is building a smart, vibrant, and entrepreneurial community, and I think that they are deliberately focused on those three categories to build a really dynamic and unique place. So we're excited to be part of it. We've now been here for 2 years, so it's gone, 2 years has flown by. I can't believe, both for our business as well as for the community, all the things that have happened in 2 years. So that's been pretty amazing. I absolutely love the speed at which things are happening inside our business and within the larger tech community here in Indiana. And, it's kind of just onwards and upwards, I think.